Good afternoon. This is the January 9th, 2025 Zoning Board of Adjustment regular meeting. My name is Annie Wang, and I'm chairing this meeting today in Chair Perry's absence. I will now call this meeting to order and ask the clerk to call the roll so we may verify the presence of quorum.
Board Member Callahan.
Present.
Eicholtz.
Present.
Grans-Korsch.
Present.
Hutchins is absent. Ingram.
Aye.
Johannesson is absent. Perry is absent. Smikarova.
Aye.
And Wang.
Here.
There are 6 members present.
Thank you. And with that, we'll proceed to our agenda, a copy which has been posted for public access to the city's legislative information management system, available at lims.minneapolismn.gov. Is there a motion to approve this agenda?
So moved.
A second?
Second.
Thank you. Are there any discussions? And seeing there is none, all in favor of the motion indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any by saying indications by saying nay, and that motion passes and the agenda is approved. So all of the board members should have seen a copy of the minutes from the December 12th, 2024 Zoning Board of Adjustment meeting. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Second. Is there any discussion? Seeing there's none, all in favor of the motion saying aye.
Aye.
All against saying nay. And any abstentions? All right, Ingrid abstains. And that motion passes. And the minutes from the Zoning Board of Adjustments December 12th, 2024 meeting is approved. For petitions and communications, Mr. Ellis, are there any petitions or communications?
Vice Chair Wang, members of the board, there are 2 communications this evening. The reappointments are going to the next meeting of the Business, Housing, and Zoning Committee. It is a public hearing. It's not necessary that you attend if you want to attend as one of the reappointment people. And if you want to touch base, if you're interested in attending, keep me in the loop and let me know. Otherwise, they just, will just be approved at that committee. And then there will not be a January 23rd meeting. There were no items, there were no complete applications in time for that. As a quick note, I didn't give the date. The Business, Housing, and Zoning Committee would be January 21st. It's a fairly large agenda, so I'm not sure what time it would happen. The meeting would start at 1:30, but I don't know when the actual end time would be or when the actual item would be heard.
Perfect. Thank you, Mr. Ellis. Let's, just a general reminder to applicants and others, if you're going to speak at the public hearing, make sure to sign in at the sheet available with the clerk and remember to speak clearly into the microphone. If you have not signed in, you can also do so on the way out. And also to applicants and others, you may contact staff after the hearing for any questions regarding your projects. So we'll review the agenda. I'll read the agenda number and the address of the project and state whether it's slated for consent or discussion. So consent items are items that are passed without discussion from the board. We'll be hearing to staff recommendations found in your agenda under the items recommended motion section. And any applicable conditions will be listed in the same section as well. For discussion items, these items are those that the board will take public testimony, deliberate on, and also make a decision. And after the public testimony has been heard for each discussion item, we only have one today, I will close the public hearing for that agenda item. Once I close the public hearing for an item, no additional public testimony will be taken, but staff may be asked to address board questions. So after the public hearing for the item is closed, the board members will then discuss and deliberate on the acts of the motion. So the chair only votes in case of a tie. So going back to the agenda, agenda number 5 is 605 2nd Avenue South, 110 7th Avenue 7th Street South, 139 6th Street, and staff is recommending this item for consent. Is there anyone who would like to speak against this item? Seeing that there is none. Agenda number 6, 401 33rd Avenue North. This is slated as a discussion item. Agenda number 7, 2115 52nd Street South. Staff is recommending this item for consent. Is there anyone who would like to speak against this item? And seeing that there's none. Agenda number 8, 41 East Minnehaha Avenue. Staff is recommending this item for consent. Is anyone here to speak against this item? And I see none. So going back to the items for consent, that's 5, 7, 8. Is there a motion to adopt these items on consent?
So moved.
A second?
Second.
There's a motion and a second, so all in favor of the motion indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any against indicate by saying nay, and any abstentions? All right, one abstention. So that motion passes. For those of you who are here for agenda number items 5, 7, or 8, your land use requests are approved, so good luck with your projects. Now moving on to the discussion item. Item number 6 is 401 33rd Avenue North. Mr. Ouellette?
Vice Chair Wang and board members, before you today are 4 variance applications to lawfully establish and retain existing improvements at 401 33rd Avenue North. The subject site is a 3,553 square foot corner parcel at 4th Street North and 33rd Avenue North. The site is zoned Urban Neighborhood 1 and Interior 1 Built Form Overlay Districts. There is an existing 2-story, 2-family dwelling on the property. Zoning staff visited the property in July of 2024 and identified several code violations related to improvements the property owner had made to the site. The applicant decided to pursue variances to lawfully establish and retain the non-compliant improvements to the site. These are just some photos of the improvements as they relate to the variances. So the fence, impervious surfaces, ground level patio, and driveway. The first variance is to increase the height of a fence in the required front and corner side yards from 4 feet to 6 feet. Staff do not find that challenges exist in complying with the ordinance limiting fences in the required front and corner side yards to 4 feet. The parcel being a corner lot is not a unique circumstance to the site. The spirit and intent of the ordinance regulating fence height is to encourage an aesthetic environment, to allow for privacy while maintaining access to light and air, and to protect the health, safety, and welfare of the general public. The proposed ornamental fence design is generally in keeping with the spirit and intent of the ordinance. However, the increased height and lack of a setback from the sidewalk do not preserve the pedestrian environment, and this finding is not met. Staff do not find that the proposed variance would not alter the essential character of the locality, nor create potential for injury or detriment to persons or property. The second variance is to increase the maximum impervious surface coverage from 60% to 89%. Staff do not find challenges exist in complying with the ordinance restricting impervious surface coverage to a maximum of 60%. The smaller size of the parcel is not a unique circumstance that would justify further intensification of impervious surface coverage. The parcel complies with the maximum building coverage, which does not hinder compliance with the impervious surface coverage. The spirit and intent of the ordinance regulating surface coverage is to combat the urban island heat effect, provide adequate space for landscaping, and reduce stormwater runoff. The additional driveway width, patio encroachment into required yards, and other non-compliant improvements contribute to the excess impervious surface coverage and fails to meet the intent of the ordinance. Staff finds that this would negatively impact the health, safety, and welfare of those utilizing nearby properties and the general public, as neighboring properties and local stormwater infrastructure would bear the burden of increased stormwater runoff from this site. The third variance, to reduce the minimum front yard and corner side yard requirements for a ground level patio to 0 feet. Staff do not find challenges exist in complying with the ordinance regulating obstructions in the required yards. The site has little to no change in topography, and there is buildable area for a ground level patio to the rear of the building, or to establish a ground level patio or deck in compliance with the maximum size for a permitted obstruction in the required front and corner side yards. For gathering spaces such as patios, buffering is accomplished by distancing improvements from the property line, and there is no such buffer in this instance. The potential for off-site impacts is increased by encroaching within the required yards for ground level patios. The fourth variance is to increase the maximum width of a driveway to 22.6 feet. Staff do not find challenges exist in complying with the ordinance regulating driveway width. The parcel is unencumbered by steep slopes and other natural features that would impact driveway size. There is sufficient room to establish a garage structure or provide adequate parking space on a 20-foot wide driveway. The regulations for driveway width are intended to avoid conflicts between parking and surrounding areas such as the pedestrian realm. The additional pavement and parking would increase such conflicts. The variance will alter the essential character of the locality by increasing the parking area immediately adjacent to the public right-of-way and to the required front yard of the parcel to the south. The widened driveway is prominently visible from the public right-of-way. This final slide details the 4 variances and which findings have been met or not by staff. With that, the staff recommendation to the Zoning Board of Adjustment is to deny the 4 variance applications. That concludes my presentation, and I can stand for any questions.
Thank you. Any questions from board members? Ms. Grascourge?
Thanks for your report. I am curious, how did this come about that you just showed up at this property in July of 2024? Was there a call of concern? Because we have, as I've noted many times on the public record, we have numerous fences that are not in compliance. So I'm trying to understand why all of a sudden in July of 2024, staff actually went there.
Yeah, zoning inspection staff visited the property, and there were multiple code violations identified by the zoning inspection staff. I believe that they were called out there to inspect the property for a complaint regarding potential code violations.
May I follow?
Yes.
Are the code violations what we're seeing here, or they were other building code?
What we're
violations?
seeing here.
Pardon?
What we're seeing here.
So what we're seeing here was there was a call made, and then staff responded by going to the project.
Yeah, and maybe Mr. Ellis can provide more input on the process in which zoning inspection staff go visit a property.
Vice Chair Wang, Board Member Grant-Scorch. The initial complaint was fence is too high in front and side yards at the corner property, and that was the complaint we received. But upon visiting the site, the inspector noted additional violations beyond the initial complaint that was submitted via the 311 system.
Thank you, Mr. Ellis. Any other questions or follow-ups from board members? And I see none. So thank you, Mr. Litt. Let's open this up for a public hearing. Would anyone like to give their testimony in support of this application? Please come on up. Thank you. And just as a reminder, make sure you're signed in or sign in after.
Yes, ma'am, I did.
Perfect. Can you
my
introduce
name's-
yourself and also your address, please?
Yes, my name is Catherine Hill. I'm the owner of 401 33rd Avenue North. Is it okay if I pass this out to you guys? This is just some notes that I made.
Yes, you can hand it to the clerk.
Okay, thank you. There's more than enough copies there. So, I'm not very good at public speaking, so please bear with me. So, we do have a reverse corner lot, and we have had variances already approved in the past. And when we were doing that process to get those variants approved, we were told that our property qualifies for variances because of it being a reverse corner lot and how small it is. We were approved in the past for a 20-foot curb cut, and I just want to let you guys know that we already did remove the 2 extra feet from our driveway. So that part has already been taken care of. So that way it's up to code. Currently, we have a 12-foot curb cut. And in the wintertime, when it's ice and snow, it gets really, really narrow where we can barely get our cars in and out. And then we called 311, and we also spoke with city workers who were replacing uneven sidewalks. And they told us that we could put asphalt on both sides of our curb cut. Because we have a reverse corner lot, we don't have alley access. And so we have to have our garbage cans in the front. And in the wintertime, we can't keep it clear without it being able to snow blow it. Well, we can't snow blow grass. So they told us to go ahead and do that. So we even asked, like, do we need permits? Do we need anything to do this? They said, no, you don't need permits. You can just go ahead and do it. So that's what we did. And then as far as the pavers go, we were told by 311 that we didn't even need a permit for that because it wasn't considered to be permanent because, it's installed with sand and it can be removed. And then we also called 311 about the mulch, and they also said that we don't need a permit for that either. So if we don't need a permit for that stuff to get installed, how would we know anything about needing a variance for it? Which is why we didn't go about getting one, because we didn't know. And then the company that built the decks and the patios, they didn't tell us anything about needing a variance. They actually showed us, because they were the ones who did the windows and they replaced the roof, and they showed us a permit for all of that. And an inspector even came and stopped them and asked them to see the permit, and they showed them. And the inspector said, go ahead and finish. So we didn't know anything about needing a variance for that either because they showed us the permit. And then as far as the fences go, as you can see, I have a mother-in-law here that she has a brain injury, first of all. She's a vulnerable adult. She has mental issues. She goes to shock treatment once or twice a week, depending on how she's doing that week. And so the fence height is for her safety, because at her previous address before she moved in with us, there was a fence of 4 feet there, and she would climb over that and go roaming around the city, or not the city, but the neighborhoods. And she's actually, before we had the fences put up, we found her 45 minutes later after we were searching around. She was in our neighbor's garage going through our neighbor's stuff. And our neighbor was like, it's okay. I know she doesn't mean any harm by it, but... And then there was another day where it took us an hour and a half to find her. And she was like 2 or 3 blocks over. So it's for her safety that we have the fence height, because, like I said, she can climb over the 4 feet. I know she doesn't look like she can, but she can. But, everything that we have done to the property has been done for at least 3 years. So I think it's kind of funny that 3 years, 4 years later, 5 years later, people want to call now about it, when we've gotten so many compliments throughout those years. We get them all the time about how good the property looks and how much we've done to improve it. Like, there's a church up the street from it, and all of the church members, every time we talk to them, they are complimenting us on what a great job we've done. And so, like, everything that we've done has been to help the safety of our family and our community, because unfortunately, that hasn't always been the greatest area over there. And in fact, we're still dealing with stuff over there. We're being like the, night watch people. Like, we're out there with a flashlight shining on people that are trying to sell drugs in our area. But, everything that we've done, it's been for the safety of the family and the community, and also to help bring our area beauty out, Because it is a beautiful area, but unfortunately, there's quite a few properties that have let it go. And so we're just doing what we can to improve our area. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for that. Can you stay there for a second?
Yes, ma'am.
If board members have any questions? Oh,
Yeah, I want to be really clear on something. So for the variance D, you've already taken out that 2 foot of driveway
Yes,
that's in
ma'am.
question.
Yes, ma'am.
So at some point, I need to understand, do we still vote on that issue? Because it's already taken care of.
Brad, would you like to shed some light on that?
Vice Chair Wang, Board Member Granscorch, you would still need to make a recommendation because, I mean, should you grant in the event that the Board of Adjustment grants the variance, they would have the ability to then expand it again. So, I mean, should you choose to, then you could. But if denied, they would already be in compliance and there would be no additional enforcement need regarding that specific one when the zoning inspector went out.
Perfect.
So you should still take a vote.
Thank you. Thank you for your testimony.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else who would like to speak in support of this item? That's okay. Would anybody like to speak? Oh, she's coming. All right.
Hello, my name is Deborah Palm. I had surgery on my left foot. I've fallen down the hills, I've fallen down this, but the surgery helped me. It helped me walk, and I look both ways to get down.
Do you have anything else you want to say?
I pray in the name of Jesus Christ and God Almighty. Help me get through the day and over again. And
Do you have anything that you want to say about the house?
the house is wonderful. I have help. I have my stuff, and I said that I have to wash the clothes.
Do you guys have any questions for her? No?
Do we have any follow-up questions? All right. Thank you very much for your testimony. Do we have anybody who would like to speak against this item? And seeing that there is none, I'm going to close the public testimony hearing. Would board members like to comment? Any board member comments or motions, questions for staff?
If I might, I have always been concerned about this 6-foot requirement, and I will consistently vote against it because I feel that they are doing what is appropriate in an area that has been hit by crime, but plus their own internal situations. To bring it down to 4 feet, I actually can see where that would be a problem. My question is, though, is that can we do a temporary variance of some sort? Because I know that a variance goes with the property, right? And so, but I'm saying that in the future, if they sold the property, could we then come back and investigate this piece?
Vice Chair Wing, Board Member Granscorch. Unfortunately, no. Variance does run with the property and it is permanent regardless. I can't remember the specifics on it, but I believe there has been a court case saying you can't limit the time of a variance, that it would run permanently.
Thank you. And then, Mr. Ellis, I do have a follow-up question for like disability zoning and parking. Does that impact how we view this as well?
Vice Chair Wayne, could you elaborate a little bit or be more specific? I mean, do you mean like a parking area out front?
Yes.
That would be, if there was a parking area out front, you would go through Public Works in order to get, like the handicap zones that you will see, on that, and you can just, you just demonstrate that for Public Works, and they're able to do that. I think they have a small fee associated with installing the signs, but then they're there during that time. I'm not sure, that wouldn't necessarily impact, of course, anything on the property, so I don't know if
Okay.
there's an additional, follow-up or discussion you would want to do related to that.
Okay, thank you. That was what I was curious about.
Okay.
Any other board member questions or comments or a motion? Yes. Mr. Ingram.
I recall we had one of these back in the day where we were talking about ADA compliance and things like that, and how we really couldn't take that into account. And so, based on that and the fact that it goes with the property in perpetuity, I don't see anything with the lot specifically that would grant these variances, unfortunately.
Thank you, Mr. Ingram. And just as a reminder for the public and board members as well, we do have to find for 3 legal findings. And one thing that Mr. Ingram had mentioned too is ADA compliance and being able to account for these accommodations. So would any board members like to make a motion or any additional comments? Yes, Ms. McCova.
My comment is that the applicant has said that they've called 311 several times and that they had someone pull a permit to do the work. And so it's concerning that it seems like it fell through the cracks and it's been installed for 3 years. Because it seems like it would be the right thing to do to sort of seek information and get an answer, and then you do something, and then to be told later that that it was incorrect or you'd be misled. That being said, I don't have a specific reason to do with the lot itself as to why the variances should be approved. I couldn't find for that. I think the kind of lot that it is, it seems like the code is still making allowances for, like, the specific kind of lot has its own rules, and even those rules don't allow for the variances that are requested. And then the challenges exist in complying, the reasonable manner in use, and then the specific altering essential character. I think the altering essential character, I could be convinced that it's not, because it seems like it's fitting into the neighborhood and that it's providing the access they need to get to their parking and things of that nature. But I'm not sure that I could find for all 3 findings to approve the variance.
Thank you, Board Member Smrkova. Board members, any other comments? Would anyone like to make a motion?
I'll move to adopt staff findings.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right, we have a second. Will the clerk call the roll, please?
Board Member Callahan.
Aye.
Eicholtz.
Aye.
Grants Korsch.
In case of an appeal, I certainly am going to vote no.
Ingram.
Aye.
Smikarova.
Aye.
There are 4 ayes and 1 nay.
So that motion passes in favor of staff findings. I highly recommend talking to a staff member on next steps. So those are all of the completed agenda items for the different discussion topics. So for updates, Mr. Ellis, are there any petitions or communications, new business?
Vice Chair Wang, there is new business. The next regular meeting will include elections, so we should take nominations for chair and vice chair at this meeting.
All right, thank you. Then in that case, I'd like to make a nomination for chair to nominate Chair Perry again. Is that sufficient, Brad?
Yes, thank you.
All right, thank you. We've completed all the items on the agenda for this meeting. Are there any other matters that needs to come before this meeting from board members or staff? Otherwise, no. Our next meeting will be on February 6, 2025. And is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
And second. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. All in favor of this motion, please say aye.
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 And we are adjourned.